Morning, dear friends.
Вас вітає Центр україно-європейського наукового співробітництва в особі директора Віхляєва Михайла Юрійовича. І хочу вас всіх разом привітати на науково-педагогічних стажуваннях, які тривають на базі Балтійської міжнародної академії протягом листопада та початку грудня цього місяця. Щиро раді вас вітати. І сьогоднішнім спікером буде наш партнер, наш друг Юріс Балдгайліс, доктор економічних наук, доцент Балтійської міжнародної академії. Він прочитає лекцію на тему студентського орієнтоване навчання. Юріс, please speak.
Okay. Good morning, dear friends. I'm very glad to cooperate with you and before I want to focus your attention on one of the problem. What interesting for me, because since we have a little time, I wanted to focus your attention on the problem of students studying, the main problem of macroeconomic analysis. It's a gross domestic product. I have a lot of contact with the business, politicals, diplomat, journalists, and I know what all we constantly discuss the growth or decline of the gross domestic product everywhere. There are still many people in leadership position who have a little understanding of what is this indicator is and what is really reflect. Probably when these people were students were paid a little attention to studying this issue. And there are also a conclusion of authoritative government international commission what directly say what this indicator no reflect the real economic reality. Okay, I show my presentation, but I don't understand this position. You not a mistake. It's a I don't understand.
Not.
Just a moment. Okay. Maybe you show my presentation, okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
We see.
The first, what is it gross domestic product? Gross domestic product in the monetary value in a local currency of all final economic goods and services produced within a country during a special period. In the broadest financial measurement of a nation's total economic activity. The total goods and services, both by consumers encompasses all private expenditures, government spending, investment, and exports, but excludes imports what take place with a designated country. Below are three different approach to the gross domestic product formula. Yes, the first it's expenditure approach. The most commonly used GDP formula, which is based on the money spent by various groups what participate in the economy. I not maybe explain all of this equation, but I presented you some of the cases what could reflect the real situation. For example, is USA example. You see what the final consumption of goods and services is 17% in the USA gross domestic product. Investment and buildings, equipment and software is 16.7%. Government spending on goods and services 19%. Next export of goods and services minus 5.7%. You know what the United States, it's a country of free debt. It's a debt government, debt of the budget, and debt of international trade. It's minus. It's show what the it's negative international trade. Trade. And all of the amount of end user expenses is 100%. Next, approach, income approach. Yes, it's in this case it's gross domestic product. It's the national income, sales taxes, depreciation, net foreign gain, factor income. The same. I show you some cases. It's what USA examples. For example, remuneration of labor force is 56.6%, rental fee 0.3%, profit and income from property 17.6%, production and import taxes 7.4%, depreciation 11.9%, interest payments 5.5%, subsidies minus 0.3 because subsidy is income or expenditure in both party, because for income it's for physical and expenditure it's for state or municipal. The amount of income received by the owners is 100%. And next position, production of value added approach, what included in how to determine, and all our political and all students know it's value added approach. It connected with the production and issue some of the goods and services. And a US example is very interesting. You see, gross output 183.5%. Double calculation, it's minus 83%. And added value across all industry, it 100%. But much of the people who explain and who try to compare different gross domestic product, it's not take account, it's a problem of double calculation, but it's a very tremendous problem, because you see what it's not take account this problem, you receive very very high and very not really reflected gross domestic product. Yes, it's needed to calculate the double calculation problem what take place in these cases. And next position is what the types of gross domestic product. You know what in world very popular comparative economic, where we try to compare different countries, different regional, different cities, and ours what receive who is better, what is better of is this regional or countries economic. In these cases have some of the types of measure. For example, it's a nominal gross domestic product. It's the total value of all goods and services produced at the current market prices. This includes the changes in market prices during the current year due to inflation or deflation. Real gross domestic product, the sum of all goods and services produced in constant prices. The prices used in determine the gross domestic product are based on the certain base year of the previous year. Yes, and we different mistake. What it's we say? What about we say about nominal or real gross domestic product? Because you know what now in the growing of gross domestic product in different countries, for example, in Latvia, in Western Europe, and ours, it's depend from inflation. It's very high inflation because, for example, in Latvia was inflation till 22% in year in winter. Now it's 5.5%, but when we become start winter, we receive the same very high inflation. Actual gross domestic product is real-time measurement of all outputs at any interval of any given time. It demonstrates the existing state of business and of the economy. Potential gross domestic product. It's ideal economic condition with 100% employment across all sectors, steady currency and a stable product prices. It's very interesting measurement of what reflect the what you have a position, have you potential of your economic. And grow domestic product per capita. It's the most important position what have possibles to compare between the country, because it's give you a possibilities to understand how much spread between some of the country is your gross domestic product. For example, China is have a bigger real gross domestic product, but if you will be compare United States and China, gross domestic product per capita will be more different, and the United States has become the first in this comparison. And for my opinion, gross domestic product at PPP, it's purchasing power parity. Gross domestic in terms of purchasing power parity reflects the capabilities of local currency, which includes many indicators. So many indicators. I present you what the some indicators, but for my opinion, it's a most important measure between the country and comparative economic, what reflect a real economy situation, real economy forces in this country. And very often our students, and the first is politic, what explain us about a growing or grow domestic product, not understand what is it grow domestic product under the PPP. But Statistic Institute presented for us both data. It's a gross domestic product at per capita and gross domestic product at PPP. What is it purchasing power parity? It's a very interesting presentation explained with the Big Mac index. Yes, purchasing power parity states what the price of a good in one country is equal to its price in another country after adjusting for the exchange rate between the two countries. Yes, it's a more simply explanation of this presentation how to calculate PPP. It's in these cases you see it's domestic price index is the foreign price index, and we receive a purchasing power parity. Yes, and more easy. I presented you some of the cases. You see what the differences between gross domestic product per capita and gross domestic product and at PPP. For example, in Noro, it's a very higher gross domestic product per capita, but under PPP it's a more small. Yes, it's a big, tremendous differences. It's show it's red, it's per capita, and blue is color is reflect the situation with the PPP. Yes, and you see what's bigger differences between these two comparison. Just a moment, and we can show what the as a light-hearted annual test of the PPP magazine. The Economist has tracked the price of McDonald's Big Mac burger in many countries since 1986. Let's take a look at this unique indicator known as the Big Mac PPP and find out what the price of the ambitious Big Mac in a given country can tell about its wealth. And purchasing parity, how it's work, you see was on some of the Big Mac index show represented. It's a problem connected with the spread of price on the burger in which country. Yes, and I presented you some cases using a price of Big Mac in two countries. The index can give an indication as to whether a currency may be over and undervalued or undervalued. For example, a Big Mac cost in China 24 yuan and 5.81 in United States. By comparing the implied exchange rate of the actual exchange rate, we can see whatever the yuan is over or undervalued. It's the same in Hryvnia, Ukraine. It's the same in Singapore, Laos, and our South country, where is local currency not undervalued, and purchasing power parity is reflect very good reflected situation. For example, Big Mac in China 24.14 yuan, in United States $5.81. Its exchange rates it's 4.20, but actual exchange rate between yuan and dollar is 6.37. 37 37. Yes, it's more bigger. Yes, in these cases you can show what the undervalued calculation of yuan show what the price of the possibilities and purchasing power of yuan is more bigger than United States dollar. Yes, and I hope it's the same situation in Ukraine with the hryvnia. Yes, what reflect the real pushing power of local currency. And burger cost around it's more make it's possible to reflect a situation with high inflation in different countries. For example, you see what the what reflect was the science 15 years. It's reflect situation with the local currency in Switzerland. It's inflation for this time and depreciation of this money, local money. It's show 43%. Norway, it's 23%. It's stable economy, but for example, in Israel, it's very high inflation and problem with the local currency. Canada, it's tremendous inflation. It's you see what the local currency have a big lot of inflation. And Venezuela, it's 233%. It's tremendous inflation. What reflect the price of the on local burger. You see what the, for example, in Venezuela, it's growing from last 15 years. It's 215%. It's a big problem with the local stability, local financial system, and local currency. Have a problem with Turkish lira. You know what it's very quickly depreciation of lira. Yes, and you say it's depreciated against US dollar more than 19%. It's very interesting position with using burger in our economical compare, and they give us so much events of thinking about of raw domestic product and comparison system of between countries. And we often use empirical evidence has shown what the many goods and basket of goods PPP is not observed in the short term, and there is uncertainty over whatever is applies in the long term. The reasons for these differences include: you see what the PPP reflect the situation with a big part of the local economy, because PPP purchasing power parity reflect, for example, transport costs, taxes. You see, because it's very different position in different countries. Government intervention, important tariffs, and to the price of the imported goods, where this are used to restrict supply and demand rises, causing and the price of the goods to rise as well. In countries where the same goods is unrestricted and abundant, its price will be lower. You show what the government intervention is have a very big inflation on the prices. Non-trade services, the big mark prices is composed of the input costs that are not traded. Therefore, those costs are unlikely to be a parity internationally. This cost can include the cost of premises, the cost of service such as insurance and utilities, and especially the cost of labor. Is reflect the very interesting position of in economical, but we often when compare some of the country and its local economy not take place in use this position when we compare some of the regional and international economy. Market competition. Goods might be deliberately priced higher in a country because the company has a competitive advantage. Our sellers, either because it has a monopoly or it's part of cartel of companies what manipulate prices. Yes, the company sought after brand might allow is to sell at a premium prices as well. Conversely, it might take years of offering goods at a reduced price in order to establish a brand and add a premium, especially where are culture or political hardness of economic. No inflation, what I say you, what inflation, it's very interesting, reflect in the its position purchasing power parity, or you see on the price of the burger when you use its position where become to compare some of the country. And what is a gross domestic product important to economists and investors? You see, it presents the economic production and growth of nation, and it's one of the primary indicators used to determine the overall well-being of a country's economy and standard of living. One way to determine how well a country's economy is flourishing is by its gross domestic product growth rate. This rate reflects the increase or decrease in the percentage of economic output in monthly, quarterly of year period. And gross domestic product enables economic policymakers to access whatever the economy or weakening or progressing if needs improvements of restriction and threats of recession, of inflation and imitate. Investors are also on the lookout for potential investment locally and abroad, basing their judgment on the country's growth rate comparison. And I explain you how to appear this position of gross domestic product. The task of the research is to show shortcoming when comparing the economic potential of countries from the gross domestic product and to identify the possibilities for rating research to expand opportunities for learning process. The general methodology for calculation of gross domestic product is based on the reflection primarily of monetary transaction in the process of generating revenue or expanding of a national product. Simon Kuznets in 1937, an economist of National Bureau of Economic Research, present the original formulation of gross domestic product in his report to US Congress. His idea is to capture all economic production by individuals, companies, and the government in single measure, which shall rise in a good times and fall in a bad. In these cases, gross domestic is born. Keynesian economics, John Maynard Keynes, rests on the presumption that government spending, whatever for munitions or the goods creates an addition of economics aggregate demand, which brings into implement labor and our research what our eyes would remain idle. The economic gets not only the additional production occasion, but the use the those research by still more output via multiplier effects. Hence, the Keynesian claim that even government spending to have people to dig holes in the ground and fill them up again has beneficial effects. When for the diggers create nothing of value, the multiplier effect is set in a motion. Motion is they spend their newly acquired income for consumption goods newly produced by ours. And you see what the GDP is the value of goods and services produced in country during a time of period of year. It is a macroeconomic index reflecting the market value of all final goods and services. And the first edition of the United Nations guidelines of national account standards compulsory for all countries was published in 1953 and contained less than 15 pages. And the 2008 edition contains 722 pages and 400 pages of commentaries. Yes. However, some countries of developed democracy have adopted whatever this indeed reflects real economy. In February 2008, French President Nicolas Sarkozy invited Nobel laureates in economics Joseph Stiglitz, Amartya Sen, as well as eminent French economist Jean-Paul Fitoussi to set up a committee of leading economics in order to investigate if GDP was a reliable measure of economic and social progress. The committee was set up and, having worked for several years, came to the main conclusion. The use of market price is in the assessment of economic development is vicious in itself. It's a problem with the market price. It's impossible to use market price. Why? It's a very interesting process. You understand, for example, I give you some question, what you evaluated using, for example, WhatsApp or Viber. Each of country is zero, but it's real services. It's real services what we receive, yes, and why it's not reflected in our gross domestic product. An interesting problem. You can be possible to use some IT soft without payment. You can use some, for example, some of the scientific searches and, for example, Wikipedia without payment, and it's not reflect the real situation in gross domestic product. The Nobel winners discovered suddenly what market production was not a criterion of well-being. One should admit what the statistic is distances greatly from the real life, allowing politicals to justify their unreasoned measures and blunders. And when our politics say we want to grow our gross domestic product, but real it's gross domestic product, it's not reflect a real situation and real life. And what's the problem? What look for Nobel winners in the process of calculation of gross domestic product? It says have some problem. The first differences involved in national income accounting are both conceptual and statistical in nature. Some of these difficulties involved in the measurement of national income are discussed below. It's for example, it's non-monetary transaction. Have, for example, a man employs a maid servant for housework. Payment here will appear positive item in the national income, but in the man where no to marry to the maid servant. She will perform the same job as before, but without an extra payments. Yes, but it's great. It's real gross domestic product. It's very interesting problem. What discussed in international cycle in the world. That problem of double accounting, you see, it's a tremendous problem. I presented you real case of American GDP, and they included 18% of double account in this situation. The underground economy is not reflected, difficult to calculate, but now I know what in Italy shadow economy included in gross domestic product, because it's a very high percent of all of the economy, and Italian politic what not lost some problem with the connected with the lost gross domestic product, include shadow economy in this measure. Petty production. There are large numbers of petty production, and it's difficult to include their production in national income because they do not maintain any account. Public services, yes, it's for example, it's administration, police, army, municipalities should be included in national income or not. It is very difficult to evaluate such as services. Transfer payment, individual get a pension, unemployment allowance, and interest on public loans, but this payment creates difficulty in the measurement of national income. Whereas earning are part of individual income, and they are also part of government expenditure. How it calculates, it's a questions. It's a big question. Capital gains or loss, yes, who have experience with the participate with the games on some of the stocks, you know what one day you have possibles to receive some of the profit or income, on next day you have tremendous losses, and how it's calculated, it's now it's a problem. Price change, yes, I told you what the price change at very big inflation on calculation gross domestic products, because we receive now a growing of gross domestic products because it's high inflation and price growing. In these cases, difficult to calculate its gross domestic product. Literacy and ignorance, yes, it's have some problem connection with its problem. And what I want to say in the final my presentation, have some equipment what have a possibles create a situation when you have possible to use parallel with the calculation and the using of gross domestic product. It's included in some of the credit rating agencies. Yes, it's credit rating agencies the same calculated the economic position on each of country and presented its valuation. Yes, and evaluated its risk. And so issue so much of the international rating, what help to evaluate the real economic position of each of country. It's a rating now create its more 115 rating, what creates very famous organization. For example, its most intensive, most popular rating I presented you. For example, Better Life Initiative is create OECD countries in each of country. The best accounting firms is connected with the audit company. It's so much some of the rating. The travel and tourism competitiveness reports. It's create a World Economic Forum, and you can to compare some of the countries and region with the problem of tourists, and it's a very important rating for business who have create a position connection with the tourism. It's you see what it's reflected 136 countries across the world what participate in tourism business. Open market index what help you to understand how much really what the really data reflect the situation in this country. World most competitive in economy. It's a very interesting, a very popular rating what reflect the situation. It's more approximately 1,000 paper what reflect each of country with his positive and negative situation in economics. 98 indicators what reflect the situation in this economics situation in this economic. Easy of paying taxes, for example, a very interesting rating. When you start your business, it's have a possible to compare different country with the situation in taxation. World best IP protection. If you want to develop your business connected with the IP, you have a possibles to find to look for a country with the most situation and most supported from the local country. It's a rating about free zones. It's interesting if you want to create your business or your development with a small expenditure and small taxation. It's possible to study a problem with the free zones. It's a brands ranking where is a country where is more important and issue of world interesting branding and product. Most desirable immigration destination have a rating very interesting for who want to influence. For example, Gallup poll revealed what were 700 million people are saying what they would consider migrant to another country. And it is before it's very interesting to study the process where is a most desirable destination. The International Tax Competitiveness Index create OECD organization country with least corruption perception. It's interesting and for business. The Big Mac Index I presented you. Shadow Economy Index. It's the first it's created in the Baltic country. We compare all between country the situation with shadow economical and the study the way how to close its and cut its shadow economy. It's very interesting rating. Logistic for performance index. It's reflect for logistic company what reflect the situation with the airports, roads, with the custom tax and others, and you create the situation what help you deliver your products with logistic contracts. Gini index, it's Gini coefficient measure the inequality among the values of frequency distributed. Yes, in each of country. In this rating very often include in some of the state reflection and the state position in different country. The financial secrecy index is reflect the situation with laundering money in different countries. The global human capital index where is invested in human capital and others. You see, it's so much indexes what you have a possibles to use. and to use, and it's added the situation when we began to study comparative economics, when we try to comparing different economy in different country. Gross domestic product is not reflect the situation with economy in this country, and addition study to help you to receive a real picture, and it's help you in these cases. It help you some of the ratings. I show its globalization index is wonderful index what reflect of so much a problem. World University rating ranking what presented you some problem connected with the study of your student children's and ours position. Ranking of health system in different country, and ours what open budget ranking, and some of the, for example, it's very interesting rating for specialty of student of aviation. It's world best airlines and airports. Yes, and I show you some of the list of this rating. You will see what's it's for so much ratings. I repeat, it's 115 rating in the world, and you see it's, for example, it's rating about population and human development index, and ours about rating, some rating, and health, for example, beer consumption in cannabis and marijuana consumption, cigarette price, and ours rating, what reflect a real situation in these countries under the branch, some of the brand. It's rating connected with the environment, agriculture, greenest countries, and some of the most polluted cities in the world, and ours. Rating with the crime in some of the countries, rating with the cities and ours, education, sports, military, population, and ours rating what you can use in your research and your studies. Government and ours, economy and ours rating what reflect the situation in some economical position, communication, and ours. And you see what's I don't explain all of the materials, but I want to present you my conclusion. It is necessary to switch from analyzing the gross domestic product of countries to analyzing of all available rating and indices, which will allow us to get a more accurate picture, as well as to receive student qualitative knowledge and to learn differentiated analysis of international economy process while studying the mechanism of rating and indexes formation, and the main rating research in different spheres of the economy provides additional information about the level of, for example, corruption or investment opportunities of the country, what does not reflect gross domestic product. The country comparison tool can be used to create interactive charts using our 115 indicators. The variables are drawn from the major international organization, are updated regularly, and one can compare countries over the time using the line charts of the ranking of various countries by selecting a special year. You can use my article, what presented it on which which sites. It's ResearchGate.net scientific contribution, Juris Baltgelis, an issue of increasing the effectiveness of teaching comparative economics. Yes, it's DOE, what you can find my presentation, and you have possibles to study without its problem. Offers Yuri Balgelis. It's all for my presentation. You have questions, please. I try to ask you.
So any questions?
No, I repeat what you can use my article, what explain the situation with the gross domestic product, with the using of some of the problem with the rating, and I hope it's help you to study the students with it's a problem.
Thank you very much, Юріс, for your lecture. Щиро дякую всім учасникам за участь. Щиро вам бажаємо успіхів у проходженні всіх шляхів до отримання наукових вчених звань доцента та професора. Всі матеріали лекції будуть надіслані вам на електронну пошту, а всі матеріали у друкованому вигляді будуть надіслані вчасно на ваші поштові адреси, які вказали під час реєстрації. Щиро всім дякуємо. До побачення. Юріс, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Дякуємо, до побачення.
Дякую, до побачення.